So I will talk a bit about this collection. It's called the Eka Kusheka collection, and it's named after a children's play or game that is very popular in Albania. I bet here as well. When the children chase one another, and then there is the other people's turn to chase the others, and something like that. And it was coined like this. The name was coined as such in order to relate to this idea that you pass this knowledge from one generation to another, but it's not only the grown-ups who learn and teach the young children, but also children through playing these games can teach their parents something, at least about this the cultural heritage of Albania. So we've been working in different settings in Albania and also in different elements of cultural heritage. I wanted to talk just a few words. Okay, can we? Yeah, sure. Okay. Yes, so about this organization, Cultural Heritage Boards of Albania is mainly focused on restoration, and it was a Swedish initiative that came to the Balkans during the 90s, and the difficult political context, and in some context of the war, these were mainly architects trying to restore buildings in the Balkans, mainly in Bosnia, then in Kosovo, but also in Serbia. Buildings that were at risk during the conflict. But then the situation changed in the Balkans, so also the organization got rebranded, and they now aspire to also create bonds between young people using restoration as a means for this, while at the same time providing some restoration and some quality restoration to cultural heritage in the Balkan context. So Cultural Heritage Without Borders then opened its own independent branch in Albania. And since then, the three branches of Bosnia, Kosovo, and Albania have now operate completely independently from their Swedish fathers. Nonetheless, they not only restored buildings during this phase, but also created a lot of connections, and especially between generations of masters and also young people and students who are attending programs such as the one that me and Dusan met. And this is their motto, and these are the fields where they operate. Is mostly cultural heritage management, practical conservation, technology, planning, now these cultural trails that are very, very, I saw in the program that also here in Montenegro there are people doing things like
European Heritage Days this year was on the topic of cultural trails.
It's very, So it's a very, very like a modern topic. And while these people were doing this, it was my colleagues 10 years ago. They said, "What if we try to transform this into a game and try to transform one of the restoration of the buildings that they did in a game?" So they made a puzzle out of the first one architectural element that they restored, and then they suddenly realized that this could be turned into a project where you could really invest into teaching children about heritage and teaching it through a playful way, not through formal education. For instance, this program consists in several topics and several programs, among whom there are creation of these educational models, from which I will speak a little bit more in detail later, but who are mainly booklets and games for children. But over the years, the capacities of the organization helped institutions in Albania build their own capacities in this heritage education efforts. Because what we noticed, and my also colleagues in the first years of these attempts, was that these institutions, they had in their curriculum and in their agenda that they needed to provide some heritage education, but they didn't have any tool or any mean how to do so. And it mainly depended on people who were creative and inventive things, but also going outside of their role as site managers or other technical stuff that they need to do. And it was not how to say regulated in a sense. And even though it was a government priority, and even though it was an official aspect of what this institution needed to do. So the people in the organization then started these campaigns and started collaborating with these institutions in like creating workshops on heritage interpretation and value, on how to design heritage-based games, on how to design simple models, and then museums or other institutions could replicate easier if they needed to. And how to create events related to public heritage. That is not to say that we were teaching people or professionals how to do it, but at least we were providing some tools from our comfortable position as an NGO, and compared to the more stricter and as we all who work in culture know, overworked people, like they had so much to do into managing the sites or museums and stuff. So this turned out along the years also as a support for these institutional partners.
Sorry, let me take a push.
Yes, this is, I tried to translate this in English, but it is, I will translate it word by word, then I will explain shortly the meaning. So eka means the one who has it, basically. And it's this game that I described in the beginning, that you are chasing one another and then you are leaving the stafette, as you say, to the other on something. And this is the same concept, basically, but in imagining that you are leaving the stafette of a knowledge you acquired or something that you learned and then you pass it to the other. That's basically it. I hope it's, I don't know who coined the term, but probably Miri that but I'm not sure.
I think he spoke about it on last.
Could be. Yeah. So this is my favorite game, and I wanted to talk a bit about it. Probably you have this game here in Montenegro because I thought it was an Albanian game, and I was very proud when I was presenting to people. But then I learned this is an old game called the Game of the Goose, Il Gioco dell'Oca in Italiano. And so what we did was transform this game into a children's game, but with a thematic from cultural heritage. It's a very easy concept, and you get a designer who designs it, and then you make sure that the game doesn't have loose ends, and there you go. So Don't Get Mad won the European Prize for Heritage Stories in 2018, and it has been one of our of the organization's best ambassadors. And also one of the most interactive games that we have. I took an example here. This is from my hometown, a UNESCO World Heritage City called Berat. I make sure to mention it everywhere I go. And which, by the way, has the root of the name of Berat is Belgrade, from White City, due to Bulgarian invasions in the Middle Ages. But it's another story. So this game was very successful, and it was replicated also in this big size that you see here that children could play. And how we play it and how we give it to our partners is like simple buttons and dices, because that's how our parents played it in the 70s, in the 80s. When they didn't have like these lavish, elaborated things. So this is a very, very nice and simple concept adapted to a heritage education thing. And we so far have produced a big number of Don't Get Mad or Muslim games until I think we have 10 or 11 of these, if I'm not mistaken, all in a topic related to a city in Albania. And every time we go to another city for work or something, they always ask us, "So when are you going to produce another Don't Get Mad for us, for our city?" And then actually, I didn't have the picture, but in Kruja, in this town in central Albania, there were some children who designed one game like this themselves. because they got inspired by the ones that we distributed in the schools. But this is a very catchy concept, because I had a colleague from Duras or Drach, who were like telling me, Arnold, look, like you have done some damage with this game, we liked it, but the thing is that when I go with my son and we walk around the city and we go to the amphitheater, he says, "Oh, Mom, we need to go to the port because the game says so. So now we have to go back to the port." And she said, "I have to adapt to his playing mindset in the real life as well." So I take it as a sign of success of the game, of course. And the other concept are the booklets. So we design booklets related to archaeological sites, built heritage, tangible heritage elements, and also intangible heritage elements, such as other like musical instruments or something. And the booklets have different formats. So the booklets here relate to two ethnographic museums that were currently being restored by EU for Culture Foundation. And they had us as the partner for their interpretation program, about bridges, about the medieval castle in central Albania. And sometimes we do completely different things, like the reconstruction of that tower. And that is the concept that we call rimakar, which in Albanian means you stay in foot, but it also means recover. And this was one of the towers restored after the 2019 earthquake. So it was a good, it was one of the most liked games because of its catchy title as well, but also the fact that children could cut and form things with that. While this here is an inspiration that we got, and I have this booklet here. It's a totally coloring booklet. We got an inspiration from a picture we saw in this Skanderbeg museum. It's like a museum in Kruja, in this city, designed by Enver Hoxha's daughter himself, a place of Albanian nationalism, but Albanian ethno-nationalism actually in the 80s, in the context when Enver Hoxha was seeing enemies even in his toilets, probably, and even in his house. And so this museum has a lot of these epic pictures, like where Albanians are big, strong, fighting everyone. So we wanted to transform parts of this museum also inaccessible for children and something colorful, not just these heroic behaviors, which of course I understand. There are people who and maybe it is important for a lot of reasons, or historically speaking, but this museum is the most visited museum in Albania, because also Albanians who live abroad visit it as part of the school program, because it's a Skanderbeg museum, so the national hero. But like exposing children always to only one thematic. I'm not saying, because I left the pedagogical aura, how to say, to determine what is right or wrong for children. But at least we didn't want to let children expose only to one narrative of history, let's say. So we wanted to make something very simple, and that children could add colors to another picture that they were in. And this is very successful. The director of the museum has praised it a lot. In this booklet, we try to include scientific rigor and details. So this here is an excerpt from a book I took from the Kruja museum. Oh, this is a Kruja ethnographic museum. So all these costumes represent different sub-regions of the city, of the province, let's say. And we worked with the most experienced Albanian ethnographer, Afrodita Almuzi, for this, and she was like, "No, but this is from the field villages. You shouldn't put this here. You should take it." So all the costumes that are included here are made intentionally, and then they relate to this region, and sometimes she was like correcting a little details. She was like, "No, these floral motifs are from originally Skadar, but they came here in this museum." So she was correcting us on this point, things, and we wanted to have this accuracy to provide everything in detail. And also here we explain parts of the castle wall to children in a very stark way. But scientific rigor and details are not the only things that or how we operate. We try to incorporate fun and interactivity. So this is from a book on a typical Albanian dress that they also have it in northern Greece. This dress, men dresses here. It's from until the early 19th century. Men were like wearing dresses in that part of the Balkans, which is southern Albania, northern Greece. And we didn't want to make a book for children about disputes or where this skirt originated, or oh, is it Greek, is it Albanian? No, it's Albanian because of, no, it's Greek because of. So we said, no, let's just make a book, explain to children that fashion has different ways of expressing itself, and also men can wear skirts sometimes, and it's a symbol of manhood. You know, it was a symbol of manhood in those areas. And the more lavish your dress was, the more high was your status in the society. So we designed this book with different elements, also comparing it with other parts of the world, and also incorporating elements like this, you know, Fustanella and this superhero wears a skirt. And we say that today, I will translate this for you. You can rarely see on the streets men who wear skirts, but as you go to school, you just see one of these, and he's Fustanella man. He is brave, smart, loving, caring, and well-dressed. We all like him. What does the superhero do according to you? So this is also because these booklets are also designed to be interactive for children, so they could add whatever they think. And this is Arnold thematic. I could speak for hours about this topic, but there are also books that we made about icons. That is one of my favorite, in collaboration with the museum, and a book like this that I'll speak about this later, and a book about this printing press of 18th century from a region in southeastern Albania, known for having an Aromanian community. So these were semi-nomadic populations, who some of them also integrated in cities. And this book is written in both Albanian and Aromanian language, because Aromanians are a community registered, a minority in Albania. They were different compared to other communities because they were more assimilated during the communist time, unlike Roma communities or other Greek minority, for example. We have a lot who have strong identity, but these Aromanian communities somehow losing their language because they were more, for reasons I don't know, more comfortable to assimilate to the Albanian. Very few old people speak the language now. But nonetheless, we wanted to create a booklet with this topic. So this printing press was one of the few printing presses in the Balkans in the 18th century. And it came also from this village of merchants. Okay, so all these are coupled with another element that are called the heritage ateliers, that are these activities that we do with these booklets and with children. So as part of CSWB's program, a lot of ateliers have been done and they're carried out with institutional with children, but also other cultural institutions have been done, heritage ateliers with it. So what we do with this, I forgot to mention that this is all non-profit. So we cannot generate profit and we cannot sell this, and we don't want to, or at least we didn't want to up to a certain point, because it's made with donor money, and the main donor of CSWB is Sweden. So these are not for marketing. Anyhow, what we do is that we supply institutions with these booklets, so they could carry out their own activities. And I put some bullet points here that we assist in schools in heritage education. But one thing that is really important is that and the feedback that we have from site managers, for example, is that in periods of the year where they cannot do activities in the site, because on February on when November, when it starts getting cold and children cannot come to the sites, they go to the schools and they have a product that is ready for them to be used, and they didn't have to invest because, you know, we know that cultural institutions everywhere don't have this many resources to invest on it. So they have they use this tool to do and carry out activities with children and carry the sites in the schools. These are some of our heritage ateliers in the school. This is me with some children, and these are also activities that we did in open air. And this is also from Korea. So somehow I only put pictures of Korea here. I don't know why. Okay, so for those of you who are interested in numbers, I will just quickly mention some numbers. So there are in total 22 of these educational models, including the Don't Get Mad collection and also booklets. Around 300 professional partners who have been involved into training or carrying out activities with these booklets. 2,803 children that engage with activities who are directly engaged, because then there are other children engaged from the partners that we have, so it's a much larger number. More than 78 institutional partners in education, cultural, local institutional structures, businesses, municipalities. More than 30 cities and villages of Albania have hosted at least one of our heritage ateliers, and one pilot national program partnership with the Ministry of Education. This was an interesting endeavor made by my colleague a few years ago. But as you probably can understand me, what characterizes the Balkans is institutional instability. So now we have another ministry. We have a Ministry of Economy, Culture and Innovation. Maybe next year we'll have the Ministry of Tourism and Defense. I don't know. But yes. So this institutional instability makes that when people move from one ministry to another, or some key people who are moving things go, then the things are abandoned or somehow don't carry out anymore. At least that's the part that I know, and the history that I know of this national program, because also it's difficult to intervene in the school curricula. These are long-established curriculums anyhow. But this is just to say and to illustrate a bit the institutional difficulties that we face in our region. Maybe you can all relate. Sometimes, you know, it depends on certain key people who then whether change ministry or go to private sector or work in Germany, you know, and you don't have these people anymore, and then things just simply cannot be done. But I also wanted to talk briefly about ideas, and here I'm reaching towards the end of the presentation. So the ideas behind these booklets and games that we create, first of all, have this principle of co-creation. So these are collective creations. It's the role of us as coordinators, but also the role of experts who are very important, because I'm an archaeologist, mostly focused in Iron and Bronze Age. Even there, I don't claim expertise, but I don't have expertise also in costumography or ethnographic regions of Albania, like Professor Afrodita Onuzi, who we work with, is a live encyclopedia of that, you know. So we work with this subject expert matters who provide us with information. What we do there is that we condense this information into simple information and playful information or playful format, let's say, for children. And we make sure that they learn through play, and this is all interactive and playful. This also, the aim behind the project is boosting this heritage-based education in different settings and in different institutions, and according to the possibilities of each of these institutions to reach as many children as possible. And also this also entangles inclusion and diversity. Well, these stories are integrated that they should reflect all of Albania's rich cultural diversity and different religious groups. For example, we don't put religious information in the booklets or in the formats that we do, because that is a more trickier part to do. But anyhow, we try to be as much inclusive as we can and to tackle all of the elements and aspects of Albanian heritage, like involving minorities as this case is, but also like tackling all of the areas, for example, because most of the official Albanian language and culture is basically the south dialect and the southern customs who are more prevalent, but we also don't want to neglect the north as well. That's for historical reasons, because of the Komtos is the south and Gay the north. As of course, because of historical reasons, communism, most of the communist leaders were from the south, and they standardized the language according to the southern dialect and the customs and stuff. That's another topic, but we try to include all of Albania geographically, and in all the 30 plus cities and villages that we've been, this encompasses the whole map of Albania. We also did some of these projects also in Prizren, in the city of Kosovo, where we also make sure to there include the ethnic religious diversity that the city has. Yes, so pretty much this is it. Vala, thank you very much. I have a slide saying thank you here.
Thanks.
Okay.
I was wondering while you've been speaking about the project, what was the hardest thing? What was the biggest challenge? Not everything, because you know that everything is challenging here on the podcast, but honestly,
so the biggest
finding partners, finding donations.
Yeah. So finding donors was not difficult. The hardest part was
stability.
But I would say just think how easy it was finding donors. So the mayor of Berat, of my town, was so impressed by this game that he founded a special tirage of copies of the game, and then he gives it as a gift to people visiting the city, for example. So it's not difficult. We have people writing every time when we can get them out and stuff. And Sweden also provided this core funding to the organization, so it was not a problem. But the problem, yes. But the problem was finding a synergy between institutions and having access into schools, because a lot of schools have their own tight curriculum and agenda. And also there are other NGOs who operate into them. So for reasons I don't really know, and I don't explain, when we had this project of actually this project here, we are in a school, it was so difficult getting permissions, even official permissions. Our requests were being denied by they were finding something that didn't exist, or
you need permission from Ministry of Education.
From Ministry of Education, even though Ministry of Culture was our partner, they were not helping in any case. And also the donor, who was the European Union, could not do anything, because these ministries operate as detached, and the entering into schools was so difficult. Then what we did is that we met teachers. We said, no, we're doing the guerrilla tactics. So we met teachers, and the teachers said, oh my God, this is amazing. We have a lot of free hours. We could use these books, and we like them. We like to teach children and stuff. So they required to their local education office to approve, that they also made a request, and then they approved, and then we could carry out this project in the schools. And now we donated more than 500 books to each of the schools involved in this project out of the copies that we did. So they got the books, they got the children involved into activities. So yeah, this is it. I would say this was the most difficult part, at least that I encountered, in this sense, like collaboration with institutions and granting permissions, because this is also like under the tag of informal education, and somehow some people don't see it as a priority. Maybe also because these projects, we try to do them outside of Tirana, because Tirana is a big center, you can have some impact there, but there are other people who are doing things there as well. So there are more opportunities anyway. So these other cities, there are not many opportunities. And in this city, particularly in Kavaja, it's also in central Albania, the connection with the museum was almost inexistent. You know, they were not very tied to the museum and stuff. So just to show how difficult was this. And yeah, so this was, I would say, as the difficulty number one. And the difficulty number two is this sense of belonging that people have with their heritage in certain regions. So we were doing a lot of these workshops where we were creating these booklets in order to gather feedback from the locals. What they see it is important, because I or my colleagues as experts say, no, this is important, this we should include. And then you go to the village and they say, no, this other thing is important because this mountain is beautiful as you see it, but the other side is where we get the mushrooms. So we gather the village, we gather the community, we go to cut the mushrooms. So it's a thing for them. So it's important to include their voices too. So we were trying to do this in a town in central Albania. It was difficult to find people interested in it. Was the project of one of these booklets related to a castle that was somehow far from town, which now this was also a new municipality. So this belonging and this sense of belonging with the territory as well was difficult to attest. You know, we were saying to these people, now you're attending this workshop for 3 hours and you're contributing to something for your own city. You know, at the very least, it will be a book that you could give to your children and who could play with it and read it. So these I think are
But you did amazing things.
the most difficult. Yes, so it was I think a nice project and initiated by visionary people in the beginning. So yes.
I can understand the problems you are having with the Ministry of Education, because somehow you're entering into their curriculum and it's complicated. So probably they suggested to keep it on the level of Ministry of Culture. So
yes.
yeah, it's clear. But I'm interested in feedbacks of children and parents. How parents reacted, because you explained that the beginning of the work was people weren't interested, maybe because they didn't even understand what are you making. But at the end, as a result, how they reacted on the results. Yes. So this is a very interesting question, and I would give I'll give examples of good reactions and bad reactions as well, because there are also. So overall, and in most of the feedback that we have during the ateliers, and actually we have as a procedure that we record children, not with video, just their voice, and they tell their experience if they would suggest it to people. So in the reporting, we all had to do that and record one educator and one parent if they are present. So the feedback was really good, because somehow people were interested about this, and simply there is no production of similar kind. I'm not saying that what we are doing is the best work, technically speaking, but is maybe the only one, or the very least that is being done, you know. And well, I mean, the fact that they won prizes and stuff attests to that there is a good quality material, but it's subjective. But anyhow, that this is, you know, like I think so. They liked it because this is a product that they can access and children can play, and it's much needed for them. So most of the feedback was this, you know, that we needed this, why we cannot get more, and people also offer to buy this. They will periodically write to the Facebook page, you know, where can we buy this? How can we get this? No, it's a shame we cannot buy this. So it's positive, this feedback, because they see it as an extra educational tool that they could use for their children. But being new as it is, and also falling into the tag of informal education, something that is not certified by the authority of the education, it has this other shortcoming. So we got a complaint from our colleagues at the National Museum of Tirana, which we supply with the booklets, and they do their activities. And they said that angry parents called them in the middle of the night saying that this book should, this book of the dress should not be used anymore in the school curricula because of certain phrases who are written wrong or mistakenly, you know. And the reaction was because one of the children parents was a member of the Islamic community of Albania and a very vocal conservative voice in the public sphere. Or at least so they told me, because it's all the feedback that I got from other partners. And they said that this is written mistakenly because you are saying that the man wears a dress. And we were like, okay, I mean, there is nothing to interpret because men were wearing dresses, you know, basically. Anyway, but they were like, no, you shouldn't formulate it like that. You should stick to the description, how we know history. You shouldn't change much of the narrative or the way of writing history or the way of writing it. So they gave us back all the books that we gave them of Fustanero, for example. And I think maybe it's this phrase here probably that we are saying, yeah, today you cannot see too many men with dresses and stuff like that, you know. So people interpret it in this way, and it was not a negative feedback, but in a sense it was a pushback from them because of how it was written, and also this because this was done in 2015 led us to also consult like education experts and specialists in the formulation because you need to be correct in line with everything, and you know, balance all the differences. You know, in our diverse societies here in the Balkans, it's very tricky and complicated to find the balance. So you need to do it anyway. So yeah, it's not just flowers and happy and games and stuff. It's stories like this as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Nole.
Thank you.